Hello, welcome back to the channel for a new Kitbash video. Today we're doing one between the ReZEL and the Stark Jagan from Gundam Unicorn, both high-grade kits, but we're doing it with a little bit of a twist today. We're adding in some 40k parts and we're going for an Ultramarine theme, the poster boy of Warhammer 40,000. But before we get into that, I thought it'd be nice to go over my general building process for stuff like this. So first thing I'm going to do is actually plan out the kit bash I'm going to be doing. In this case, I'm just going to be using the legs and the head from the ReZEL and everything else from the Jagan. Then I clean everything with soap and water. I cut everything out that I'm going to be using. I modify, such as adding parts or removing things. Prime it, paint it, detail and panel line. Then I assemble the major parts, give those a gloss coat into water slide decals, and I give it a couple matte coats to finish, give it a really nice flat look, and it looks perfect. So as we can see here, we're starting out with the actual cleaning process. Just use soap and water. It's pretty much all you need. Standard dish soap is fine, and wash it off and use a toothbrush to really get in there. After that, I'm going to show you guys the bits and pieces I'm going to be using from the Warhammer 40,000 thing I told you about earlier. Specifically, the Redemptor Dreadnought is most of the things are coming from. This is an old Gatling cannon I never ended up using on it. I used a plasma cannon instead. It's pretty much perfect for just mounting onto a shoulder, which is what I ended up doing with this kit. The actual Gatling cannon will require lots of detail painting because, of course, it's not like Gunpla where it's just a ton of smaller pieces. But that's all right. There's various other pieces we're also going to be using in this. I have an extra chest piece from the Dreadnought and missile chest pieces here. So those should be able to just be glued on anywhere, no problem. The actual chest piece itself required a bit more trickery. I ended up cutting around it for the most part so it'd be able to fit onto the actual Stark Jagan chest piece. So here are the leg joints. God damn, these are annoying. They don't, like, the legs are different obviously, so I had to switch them around with glue and they just kept falling off and it kept making me mad. But enough of that. So this is what I initially started using, was just standard mini glue for the actual leg joint, as you can see here. But it did start coming off every time I tried to post the kit, so I ended up using super glue instead. I probably should just start off with that, to be honest, but you know, live and learn, I guess. So here is the modified gun from the ReZEL. I added some tubes from Eradicators. They're a set of minis from Warhammer 40,000. They have like flamer tubes. So I added that along with the piece of armor from the Dreadnought, which really gives it a more industrial feel, as well as adding on a second barrel from a different gun I think I had just in my bits and pieces. So now it's a double-barreled laser gun, and that's pretty kick-ass. I also added more Eradicator tubing and flamer tanks to the shoulder-mounted missile launcher, and it gives it a bit more of a detailed look. I'll be able to detail that up with hand paints after and make it look really spick and span. So here's that Dreadnought chest piece I was talking about earlier. I cut it all around it and I made it fit onto the chest piece of the Stark Jagan with some contact glue, and worked out pretty great. That's going to look a lot better after some paint and stuff like that. But yeah, here's all the pieces cut out, sanded, ready to go as we go right into the priming and painting. Nothing too special going on here, to be honest. I used a pretty standard blue of Tamiya TS spray paints, used some gunship gray for the secondary bits. Then I have a lot of stuff I was going to be hand painting, you know, like golds, chromes, silvers, stuff like that. You know, painting's such a long, tedious process, but it is what it is. Here's all the hand-painted bits and pieces I'm doing, such as the gold chest piece. That's without a wash, though, so it's going to look a lot better in a minute. As you can see, I'm painting a lot of things gold. Just gold leaf from Tamiya acrylic paints. I have my Gatling cannon, have my gun all painted up here. I still have to do a lot of details on it at this point, but it's starting to really take shape and look pretty freaking alright. The Gatling cannon, this thing took forever to fully paint, and it didn't turn out the way I really wanted it to, but that's alright. So here's some extra detail painting I got done with more gold leaf. I'd put a wash on the chest piece here so it looks a lot better now. Those details are really actuated. I don't know if that's a word. I did some heraldry on one of the arm pieces, just using some masking tape, really simple. Added in some orange for the missiles so they really pop, stick out. Put some gold trim on the wrist gauntlets because, again, we're going for that Ultramarine theme. Here are the tubes on the back of the legs and his thruster. I painted those just a standard silver. I did use like a really light red. It looks a little orange here, I guess, but not as orange as the rocket pods, as you can see. But the shoulder thing's already looking so much better, and the Gatling gun looks really good at this point. The orange or red, sorry, that I have on the actual double-barreled laser gun, I ended up not liking at all, and I got rid of it. So this is kind of like a earlier failed period, if you will. Also, I just used like a brass marker for the gun belt for the Gatling gun. But yeah, I used some different paints for one of the tubes and chrome for the other tube, so it gives it a bit more of a futuristic, gritty feel, if you will. That really got that grimdark. I mean, it's not that grimdark, it's just fucking tubes, I guess, but you know what I mean. But so all that stuff starting to get ready. Really nice. I ended up going ahead and trying to do a lot of edge highlighting on all the blue bits with a lighter blue. It's a pretty standard practice in mini painting, which I've been doing a lot of lately. So I wanted to give it a shot here and, I don't know, do something a little bit different that people don't normally do. So for that, I used some actual GW acrylic paints, as we can see here, a light blue, a yellow, a very muddy green, if you will. Here's that really light red. Troll Slayer orange, which I had for a long time for my minis. Here's that chrome that I've been using for a lot of those parts, and then just of course my standard Tamiya TS, my Tamiya acrylic paints and some dark wash. But at this point, like, I'm a bit indifferent about the edge highlighting. I think it looks nice for the most part. It's not as clean as I would like it to be because I'm still not super used to it. I think if it looked a lot cleaner and smoother, somebody with better hands than me, it could really pop under the right circumstances. The gun here is looking a lot better. I still need to paint the actual main armor on it blue, but I need to get hand paint for that. Put a little bit of edge highlighting on the actual double-barreled laser gun, and it's pretty much done at this point. I don't think I really do much more to it besides change the magazine to black. So here's the kit assembled pre-gloss coat. But it has most of the details done. It has its panel lining done. It has all the washes that it needs. I still have to, of course, paint the Gatling gun, but I kind of do that off camera. Of course, I needed to go and buy that paint separately because I wanted to try to match the blue that I used for the spray paint. Didn't work out the way we wanted to, that we'll see in a bit. But so far I think it looks really good. The legs turned out better than I expected. I thought the legs were going to actually turn out goofy. I almost regretted not using the rounded legs with the Stark Dragon because it does have a Space Marine feel. But these legs are totally fine, especially matches the head. The Gatling gun is a bit busy, but you know, that's fine. Used a lot of not just standard Gunpla decals, but I also used a ton of 40k decals, as you can imagine if I'm going for a 40k inspired kit. So had a lot of decals already from friends as well as my own armies and kits. So I used, of course, mainly Ultramarine ones. I used a big Ultramarine on the rocket pod and on the back waist. We can start to see a lot of the decals here that I've applied. Used a lot of Earth Federation decals as well, which made sense. It is still technically a grunt suit for the Earth Federation force, I believe. I haven't watched all of Unicorn yet, so I'm not 100% about that. Don't quote me on it. But we're going in here to the matte coat, and that'll give us our final product, which we're going to see right now. Hey, let's check in to see what Leandros thinks of it.
The Codex Astartes does not support this action.
Alright, anyway, going into the classic slideshow here of all my pictures that I took. overall, I really dig this kit a lot more now that I'm done than when before all my various coats and stuff were going on. I was like, oh god, I thought I made this way too busy. I thought it was a little bit too much. Didn't like the gloss on it at all. But after the matte coat, I think it comes together a lot better. The edge highlighting now doesn't look as terrible in my mind. I think I could have cleaned it up a bit more, but I'm still overall very happy with the product and my overall creativity with the whole thing. I like the modifications I made. I like the bits and pieces that I added. It works. It's a solid kit. Like, I don't know. I definitely still think the Zoof might still be my favorite, but overall, it really stands with them. Of course, it's a taller kit because it's from Unicorn. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Here it is with my Dreadnought from my 40k army, you know, kind of paired up here. And I think side by side, that's when I really started to like it a lot more, because now it really does have that 40k feel I was striving for. And it really matches because they both use the same matte coat on them. They both have edge highlighting. They're using, I mean, he has fucking Dreadnought parts on him, of course, so kind of has a little bit of that feel. It looks really nice. Used some nice decals, especially on the chest piece. A little bit of a bonus part here, if you are curious about my 40k army, here it is. I use a lot of the same methods I used for Gunpla for this. I used a lot of Tamiya TS spray paints, stuff like that. Same matte coats that I use for 40k. A lot of the same methods, as you can see there with the heraldry, decals. A lot of people use like centers and stuff like that for decals on 40k stuff, and I just use the Gunpla method, and I typically work out fine. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.
Brother, I am pinned here.